Welcome back to another episode of STEM in Stilettos. This is your host, Zofia Morales, and I am here today with Amelia Godfrey. And today we're going to discuss bootstrapping to transform pelvic health care. And just a little background on my guest. Amelia is an Australian pelvic health physiotherapist and founder of Pelvy, a patient app designed to improve adherence to pelvic floor programs. After seeing how patients struggled to follow through with exercises prescribed in clinic, she built Pelvy to bring exercises, advice, and reminders into one place to improve outcomes for both the patient and the professional, and to expand access into pelvic health physiotherapy, especially for those who are unable to access care. I'm so happy to have you here with me today, Amelia. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
And I have to say, the access to pelvic care is actually something that's near and dear to my heart because 20 years ago, I went in for an abdominal surgery and I came out with abdominal adhesions and a chronic pain situation. And trying to find someone who could effectively help me with that without ending up in this like surgery, resurgery cycle as they try to get rid of the scar tissue from the last surgery. Oh, it was a real challenge. So I'm thrilled about your mission and what you're bringing forward. But before we go too far down that road, I'd love to understand, how did you start to develop Pelvy? It seems like an app would be a rather large leap from someone whose background is very physically grounded, right? You see the patient, you lay hands, we stretch and we move and we do our stuff. So tell us a little bit about that journey.
Yeah, so I was born in Canada. I've moved to Australia. I've lived in places that are really remote and where the access to care is very limited. And I've just noticed that this is a worldwide issue where people can't access pelvic health care easily in terms of physiotherapy. So in the States, you call it physical therapy. There are occupational therapists that also do like really similar things to what we can do in the States. So I'm just grouping, I'm going to say physiotherapy, but I'm kind of talking about us as a whole. And yeah, and then I've moved around Australia as a physio, and I realized, okay, well, even when people can access care, it's really hard to follow the advice that we're giving to them. So I would usually go to the effort to say, how do you like to receive advice? Is it printed? Is it written? Is it emailed? Those were the only options. And patients would usually elect for email, but then, especially if you have
The
to see if,
spam folder eats it.
well, not necessarily, but then you would search like, okay, Amelia at the practice, and obviously all your reminder emails are coming up, and so it's just hard to find. And
Yeah.
let's say, like, often, especially with bowel dysfunction, with any type of exercise, we're always trying to progress things, right?
Right.
And we might be changing things. And so I would have these patients say, like, oh, yeah, what email was that in again? And
Yeah.
there's, I mean, pe men have pelvic health difficulties too, but women especially, I think, find it really hard to coordinate their care because they have all the balls in the air. And
Yeah,
so,
we're already coordinating everybody else's everything.
yeah,
Yeah.
and when you have that cognitive barrier of like, oh, I've got to search for this, I've got to think about the exercises now, like a lot of the times I realized it might not be that, hey, I didn't have access to it. It was too hard to find, too hard to do. And so I wanted to have something that could play the exercises for you. Me as a clinician, I could easily put it in. I didn't have to fiddle with your phone like all the other apps might have to do. And so I just wanted something that had like the lowest friction as possible where I could put my advice into here on the computer. I could put my exercises in. It was free for you because I paid as the clinician because I think that's the least I can do when you're paying like
Yeah,
a
X
lot
many
of
hour dollars an hour, yes.
yeah. And so then I like reached out to my professional networks and said, hey, I have this idea. And I outlined the features that I would love to be in the app. We haven't launched all those features, but there's definitely a clear roadmap.
Yeah.
Development is expensive. And
Well,
so,
and a roadmap is so important because,
hmm,
like the gentleman I was talking to last night, we had a little chat before we started here. The concept he was bringing forward is like a 10-year plan. And it's like, yeah, don't purchase for year 10 yet. You want to plan towards that, but you want to
yeah.
purchase for year one.
Yeah, and I mean, I needed to talk to my customers, which
Yeah.
was my go-to-market was pelvic health physios to begin with. And so I needed to find out like, okay, what features would you pay for? What two or three would it be? And so, yeah, I had over like 200 people comment on that, giving me their email and contact info. And I thought, well, stuff it. I'm not at the stage in my life where I'm having kids or we were moving around. And so I was like, I'm not going to buy a house yet. So, yeah, I invested in myself and I invested in Pelvy. And that's essentially what I've created. And so my mission was to make our care more effective by supporting our patients. We depend on our phones for everything these days, especially women, I think, when they have so much going on in their
Oh,
minds.
sure. Yeah, if it's not
Yeah.
in the calendar on my phone, it might as well not exist.
And look, a lot of people with pelvic pain, bowel dysfunction, bladder dysfunction, sexual dysfunction are on the spectrum.
Mm.
Yeah, so like most of the children I've ever met in the hospital admitted with bowel difficulties have autism, ADHD. And so let's think I'm treating these people as adults a lot of the time. And those people definitely need all the reminders that they can get and very clear instructions. So I just wanted something that would play it all for you. And I've experienced in the past that health apps for pelvic health, like they're very gendered and they're very obvious with their branding. And
Yes.
I really wanted something that was actually discreet, empowering, and gender neutral. So that's, yeah, our branding has been really intentional with the green color and the logo doesn't look like a vagina. Or
Please.
or like
Or what was the lady that did the orchid flowers that everybody said looked like vaginas? Virginia,
yeah.
I forget her name. But yeah, yeah, let's make it a little something that the guys won't run from.
Yeah, and then I wanted something that also just encouraged people to subscribe to so that they could try the exercises. Like a lot of people don't want to go initially to a pelvic health person right away. They want to try the things. Like most of my patients have tried something. And
Yes.
so I wanted to be the reputable thing that they tried. And then I'm actually really aiming to connect them to a clinician if they're not improving because most conditions, like you should have, whether you're going to be better completely, but you should have some improvement within 3 months of doing your
Right.
daily exercises. And so the risk with people, like there's someone on Instagram, I don't know if you've seen or in TikTok, where she's always telling people to pause and do your exercises. Like, have you seen that?
No, I haven't.
Oh my gosh, it's not in your algorithm. But
Oh no.
basically, she's doing a great job at spreading awareness about, hey, we should do pelvic floor exercises. But when you're filming for Instagram or TikTok, like you have a time limit, and most
Yes.
patients' programs are over three, like around 3 minutes. Some people's are 6 minutes if you need to have rest times between sets.
Yeah.
And so
And
I have a lot of
TikTok is
patients.
not gonna cut it.
No, so I have a lot of patients coming to me saying like, "Oh, I've been trying the exercises that this person does on TikTok," and I'm like, "Yeah, well, it just wasn't a significant dose for you. So we're gonna customize this and la la la." So yeah, I wanted to have something that was really evidence-based, not something that you pay for that is really low,
Low
is
quality.
low
Yeah.
effective. Yeah, and
Exactly. And
nothing
that's
that,
the
yeah.
other thing about following somebody on TikTok, right? The exercises they're showing you are probably good and probably appropriate for certain things, but certainly not appropriate for all things. And
Yeah.
if you don't have someone who can kind of help you parse through what's the thing I really need to be doing in strengthening, because I know from the time I've spent in PT over the years, sometimes it's pretty counterintuitive.
Yes, and the thing that's not happening in the exercises that she's cueing is she's not cueing breath and she's not cueing like relaxation very well. It's just like on, off, on, off. And so they're really intro level, but a lot of people breathe and contract at the wrong time. And so they will actually be like working against how the muscles are supposed to work. So, yeah, I really wanted something that also had that capability because that's usually where I start with people. I don't start on just cueing, okay, here are your quick squeezes and your holds. It's about can we breathe in and relax? Can we breathe out and contract? Are you doing it
which,
now?
which is more challenging. I'm trying.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's really important for people with strength goals, but also people that need to relax and have pain.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So that's my
Well,
background.
I love that. I love that because I did mention I had my own pain journey that I've been working through.
Yeah.
And one of the real challenges for me, and I don't know how much this has improved over the years because as I said, it's just about 20 years ago now that that whole journey started. I did find someone who was certified, qualified. This was their specialty. Only I was in California and they were in Florida, and it was, we need you for 8 weeks. There was just no physical, financial way that was going to happen.
Do you
And
know what? We're actually having great evidence about telehealth. And I think with COVID, we were forced to do more via telehealth. And so our clinicians have really become so much better at that. And especially even for pelvic pain, you would think that you should be in person, but there's good evidence for telehealth too. So I'm very passionate about teaching how to do your own release exercises. It's just not good enough for people to suffer from pelvic health dysfunction in 2026.
yeah, I love that. So when we're talking about pelvic health, I probably should have put this a little farther up in the discussion. What kind of things fall under that umbrella?
Yeah, your pelvis is surrounded by muscles. So you've got your abdominal muscles, your lower back muscles, your pelvic floor, which is underneath, and all encapsulated in it are your different organs. And so, as a physio or a physical therapist, we work with joints usually and muscles, whether it's your shoulder, your ankle, and your bladder is also a muscle. Your rectum is surrounded by muscles. So that's the lower part of your bowel where it exits through the anus. And your uterus is, and your vagina.
It's
So
a
you,
massive muscle.
yeah, and the penis is all muscle. So we deal with all of those organs and the muscles. And when people have any type of bladder emptying, filling issues, leaking, urgency. Bowel is a big one. People, especially with pain, if you're constipated, if you're not emptying properly, we gotta optimize the bowels. Even if you're leaking, if you have bladder urgency and you have bowel symptoms, the amount of improvements people can have when we're improving and fully fixing the way you're emptying your bowels is revolutionary. And I personally am someone, I'm quite hypermobile, not terribly at all. I haven't
Mm,
dislocated things, but it's really affected my bowels since childhood.
I'm
And
sure.
yeah, and even without having a baby, people think, oh, well, prolapse is just for people that have babies.
Oh,
Uh-uh.
no, no, no. If you
Like,
have any form of collagen disorder or
and
hypermobility, it's a real
and
possibility.
and constipation. So
Yeah.
30% of women who've not had a baby have an element of prolapse. And you don't have to have something, men get prolapse too. And so you don't have to have something coming out of a hole to have prolapse. It's just that it is descending more than it should, or it's sitting lower than it should. And it can cause a lot of emptying and filling problems with peeing and pooing basically. And then, yeah, we have sexual dysfunction too, which I think as a pelvic health physio, we're focused a bit more on. Has your ability to have penetrative intercourse changed, or has it always been difficult for you? Like a big red flag is if you've never wanted to use tampons because you've tried and it's not gone well for you. Like, why is that, you know?
That's a very good question to ask because
Or
there's,
period cups, exactly.
yeah,
Like,
there's a reason. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, all of that not working well or how it impacts your gut and your digestion, it impacts your brain. There's the mind-gut axis, and it can cause a lot of symptoms that impact people's quality of life and their relationships and their confidence to just leave the house, not have to think about where a toilet is.
Oh, please. Yes, I went through a phase where I had to be very aware of that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And even just how we grow up with our parents, like what they say about, like, oh, you've got to empty your bladder before we leave the house, or how they toilet train you or don't toilet train you, or teachers in schools that won't let you leave the class if you really
When
need
you
to.
need, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just, oh gosh, there's so many people that have really terrible toileting habits. And I think that sometimes we gatekeep some really common helpful advice, and I don't believe that that's right. I don't believe that I should be giving people really specific advice when they've never had the opportunity to tell someone their symptoms or what have you. But I do definitely believe we should be spreading awareness about what are good habits, what's normal, what's not normal, signs of dysfunction. And it's like, hey, here's how to troubleshoot that a bit. If that doesn't work, please see someone one-on-one.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely. So we are up on our first break already. As a matter of fact, we like blew past it. I know. She's shocked. What?
Sorry.
Oh,
I could talk
no.
forever. I could talk
It's all
forever.
good. This is super important information, and it's important that people can see themselves in it when they have the need, because I think it's very easy in today's day and age to walk around and go, I will deal with this later. It doesn't seem to be that big a deal. But I know from my own life, the more you ignore what's going on when it's small, it tends to end up a bigger deal. So I heartily approve of the detail that we've provided, although I may have to check YouTube's terms of service and see if we've violated anything, but we'll fix that in post-op.
Yeah. So in
So during the break, what should we be thinking about around this particular topic, or should we be looking forward to, let's talk app development when we come back?
Yeah, we'll definitely talk app development. Maybe we'll just finish off on like, have you ever been holding back on asking a doctor about something, or have you been recommended a medication or a surgery without being offered physio and someone to really talk to you about these things? Um, yeah,
Yeah, I
because there are a lot of unnecessary, and I think with men especially, it's like it's the pill or it's injections or it's a penis pump. And,
and
there's a
I'm
lot
out. And there's more options than that. Yeah,
of options.
I love that. So yeah, spend some time around that thought and hang with us. We'll be right back from the break.
Oh, check the loud, but we're here. Tech is ours and we show no fear. No fear. No fear. No fear.
All right, thanks for hanging in with us through the break. This is Zofia Morales. I'm back with Amelia Godfrey, a physiotherapist extraordinaire. And before the break, she invited us to think about, is there a topic in your life that you're feeling a little uncomfortable about, whether it's having difficulty having the conversation and accessing the information, or whether it's the options you've been given in one of these conversations feels not quite aligned and maybe a trifle bit incomplete. So, what do we want to do with that information now that we have it and we know that Pelvy is an option?
Hmm. Yeah, you can use the app. So it's called Pelvy Patient at the moment. I want to just call it Pelvy, but my first version of the app was Pelvy and it's still there, so I can't replace it yet. Anyway, Pelvy Patient, and then you can go to the Learn section and you can learn about your pelvic floor. But then I also do have a course you can inquire on our website about the course. It's called Pelvic Health 101, and that is really comprehensive and it talks about all the things you can be aware of and try safely and troubleshoot yourself. And then the good news is if it hasn't worked for you, that's the sign to see a pelvic health physio, physical therapist, wherever you live, whatever they are. And I'm very happy to connect you to the right ones that have your interest. Some people work best in pelvic pain, only a few physios compared to like the broad amount do that. So only a few work with men. I work with men, for example. So yeah, we want to connect you with someone who's the best suited to help you. And yeah, thinking about like, have you ever been dismissed with your symptoms? I think you
Oh, Lord.
especially,
It
yeah, oh,
happens a
you had a
lot with
baby.
women. Yeah, it's like, this is just being female. What do you mean you're having a difficult period or you leak when you laugh? It's like,
It's actually like never acceptable to not be
yeah.
able to exercise or just do your daily life. Some people get leaking when they stand up from a chair. And there's a reason. It's called bladder neck funneling. And there's a thing you can do for that. So get help. You don't need to suffer. If you're using liners or pads, get help.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about your journey to getting this app out there into the marketplace, into the app store. How did that go? Did you do the programming? Did you get a developer? Did the first one work out? Is it a series? Tell us
Yeah.
all, Amelia.
Yeah. Yeah. So I hope that people, if they're founders and in the beginning of their journey, I hope that they can learn from this a little bit or learn the next time. But yeah, essentially, I was pretty naive. I mean, I posted on this website, it's called Bark, where I posted my idea and I had so many developers reach out and it was really overwhelming. And I guess I thought, which kind of makes sense in my brain, hey, I need someone who's worked in health apps before, so they're aware of all the security type thing.
Right. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And that was kind of my criteria. And then I
And it's an
met some,
important criteria. Let's put that out there. It's
well,
important, but
I
yeah,
mean,
it may not be
like
the only thing, but yeah.
I actually realized like it's not hard to make things secure and to satisfy guidelines like in according to countries. You just have to look it up. And with AI now, like you can figure it
So
out
much
so much
easier.
easier. It's actually better. Like I should have looked for someone who can develop a web system well and convert that to app and have the app talk to the web system. So basically my first developer, we worked together for 16 months and I had to pull the plug because, I mean, it was just continuous deferral of a launch date and I was really losing confidence in them. And I ended up coming across a CTO, like a chief technical officer, for a really amazing health app that I've personally recommended a lot. And I paid him to look into the code and to interview my developer because my developer was actually like we worked really well together and I really, really liked him and we got along really well. But basically, he was interested in being a co-founder or like he wanted to work. He said he thought he had to work full time on Pelvy after we launched our MVP.
Mm,
And I had to obviously pay the bill for that, which is really expensive to have a
yeah.
full-time developer when
Oh,
you're
yeah.
bootstrapping. And so, yeah, essentially the story was there's zero way this is launching in the next few months. The code is really like quite poorly done. It's going to need a lot of reworking by a senior developer. So it's like, oh, how much is that going to cost? And I guess I think there's the sunk cost fallacy and I just had to cut it. But yeah, I had a brilliant prototype at least, but I did
Yeah.
lose, for me, like this was like
That's a,
that's
oh, that's
it
a
was
lot of
kind of
money.
it was the chunk I
Yeah.
had to invest in this is 40 grand Australian dollars, whatever the conversion rates were at the time. It's like still it was a lot for me.
Yeah,
And so
exactly. I don't care whose dollars it's in. If
yeah,
you're funding this out of your salary and your after-tax savings, that's a lot of money.
and the time lost spent on this, I also was working 4 days a week and then 3 days a week so that I could work more on the business side of things. So it was the time lost. I mean, yeah, it
Yeah.
was a lot. But
How did you work around the psychological side of that? Because it's really easy when you're in one of those
mhm,
damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of situations to continue to jolly
mhm,
yourself along and go, they'll make the next date that we set. Oh, this problem will be resolved on the time frame they're saying it will be. And to start to step back and go, there's a pattern here, and I
yeah.
really need to rethink this.
Look, I've personally been through a lot of like giving people a lot of second chances. I've been not treated very well in the past. And so I have this tendency to be like, okay, let's give it a few more months. Let's give it a few more months. And what really helped me was knowing like you've gone through many things in your life where you've had to start over and you've had to cut your losses and it's been okay. And also, I think my recommendation is to go into these like pre-accelerators, which can really set you up with mentors that really are great mentors and they're able to kind of call you on your BS and say like, Amelia, okay, it's been 2 months and nothing's changed. They're still telling you the same thing. And so yeah, with having quite a few mentors and ability to talk to people that were in the industry, that really was helpful for me. But also what I did, I guess I think I started out trying to look for a senior developer or someone that could come in and help. But I knew that I didn't have the capacity to pay them to start over. And
Yeah.
so I was just trying, honestly, I was just like interviewing people, figuring out like how much it was going to cost, blah, blah, blah. And I thought I'm definitely going to have to raise money for this. And then luckily, I think, have you heard the saying where if you want money, you'll get advice. If you want advice, you can get money. Like,
Yeah.
I essentially, my developer that I ended up finding, who's amazing, Dave, I only met with him to ask for advice. Like, I was hooked up with him, and there's no way I would have asked him to be my developer because he was way above what I thought my means were.
You could
And
touch,
then
yeah.
yeah, and then he took an interest basically, and we ended up going down the route of convertible notes, which I'd never heard of either. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, but it's the
Yeah.
only because like all the startup programs, none of them mentioned it either. And I'd done two really good ones. And basically, if it's an option, my advice would be firstly, my first developer. I hired him and he was really senior, but he wasn't the one doing the coding. So who's doing the coding?
Good
How much
question. Yes.
coding experience do they have? These developers that have these big scope of works, they don't commit to any time frames. They don't commit to quality. Can you get them to do one feature, like a minimum feature? Maybe you can't launch that, but like do a feature test.
Yeah.
I would totally recommend that. And this is kind of what Dave did. So he was like taking interest in my feature. And look, he could see what they had made. So we had a really expensive, nice prototype. But basically, he then met and was like, well, I built your main feature in the last 24 hours. Have a look.
Wow.
I know. And he's
Okay.
like, yeah. And he's like, see, it works so much. Oh. And I was like, hello. So,
You
um,
now have my attention in a way the prior guy did not.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I guess if you're considering spending 40K, like I think you're like, oh, I need to guard that so much. I don't want to spend money on anything else, but like it's worth spending even like a few grand. Finding think there's people called like interim CTOs or
Yes.
yeah,
Fractional. Yeah.
fractional, and they can actually, what their job could be is to find you someone, and they can do like code tests, and basically they can interview people for you because I still don't have the ability to look and be like, is this good code? Is this
Yeah,
working?
this guy is all hat and no cattle. He talks a good
Yeah,
game. Yeah.
but it's hard. It's really hard. And this is like the most common story as well. So basically, that was my journey. And I ended up having to launch a much lesser product, which I should have done in the first place, because especially with clinicians, like if you launch six amazing features, for me, it would be a bladder diary, a bowel diary, symptom tracking, and the exercises and the notes feature, and they all need improving. That's actually
Yeah,
too.
there's no place you can go that there's not a work in progress sign. Yeah, that's not
Well,
cool.
yeah, launch your minimum things. And I guess I started getting a lot better with having a lean startup mind where, yeah, I call it being scrappy. Like, how can you be a bit scrappier? Because you shouldn't have to pay 5K for the website. Now, if I'd done it over, I would have just made my own website with the low code tools that exist. Whereas I paid someone to do that. There are so many people that will reach out on LinkedIn and offer you services and convince you that you need them, like a
Yeah.
cybersecurity plan for 10K. Or I think there are things that are really nice to have. And my developer, he's been through like a good exit before. He's been a developer for a company that had a great exit before that and from the beginning. And so he's really good at giving me advice on like, that's
Yeah,
a nice to have, not
it's not
essential right now.
mission
Because he knows
critical.
how much money I have
Well,
and
and
lack of or
before we get too far away from this, I want to kind of shine a light on the difference in credentials between first dude and second dude, because it's
yeah,
not a trivial thing that this man has participated in successful software development and an exit,
yeah,
because a lot of software gets developed, never ends up out in the marketplace, doesn't receive good uptake from whatever. And what tells you how good this person is in terms of making your product come to market is that they've successfully brought another product to market.
yeah. And he's not just my developer, like he's a great
Yeah.
advisor. But to be fair, the first dude, like the boss of the business, he was really good at doing what he did. It's just he wasn't doing the things and he wasn't supervising and he wasn't guiding his junior the way he should have been. So,
Yeah.
but I think all development agencies, they're going to come up with a big scope.
Sure.
They want it's really like really expensive. And can you have a much smaller scope? Like what is absolutely essential and build one feature at a time? Here's the money for that one. Here's the money for that one. The amount of people that have just lost out because they've waited for the big scope, they've spent everything they had is unbelievable.
Yeah, and one of the things you need to be aware of when you go into development of any sort is always going to take longer and be more complicated than you think it is on the front end.
Yeah,
Always. And so you need to look at your
yeah,
runway and say, well, I've got a 4 month runway I can get this out on before I start having money problems. Then pare back your plan to something that needs a 2 month runway. So you have a chance to hit your 4 month goal and not
yeah.
run past the end.
And I'm in a good position where I'm bloody stressed in terms of, okay, I'm not covering the bill of development yet per month. I don't have a maintenance bill of development per month. I have admin
Development bill,
bill, like, because
yes.
we're still wanting to come up with features. And my developer was great in the sense he's like, okay, I'm happy for our monthly to be half convertible notes, half cash or
Gosh.
transfer him. And that's because he's like, I think you need the push to like, okay, I need to come up with this money this month. And I
Yeah,
honestly, I think that's a good thing for me
it
too.
is. It really
Like,
is. Not just for you, but for any founder, honestly, because when
yeah,
you don't see that bill every month, it's easy for it to become not real.
Yeah, and we're just so bad at being like, oh yeah, put it on the tab, put it on the
Yeah.
credit card. Not that I've never had a credit card like that.
But still,
Still,
yeah,
yeah, in the sense I could pause developing a future feature if I wanted to. Worst
totally.
case scenario. And you should not have a big maintenance development bill. No. You'll definitely need to have, for example, I often need him to do, can you do a password reset for this person?
Yeah.
Can you, oh, someone's reporting this for this patient, but that is not a big maintenance bill by any means.
Yeah.
So
It's a
that's kind of
couple
my,
minutes here, a couple minutes there.
yeah.
We are up on our second break already.
Wow.
I know it goes so fast, but I love how transparent you've been about this process, how it played out, the thought processes behind it, because it's easy to sit outside of a process and go, well, those people never made any mistakes. And the truth of the matter is, it's all mistakes. Not quite all mistakes, but that when you're doing business and creating something, it's not going to happen perfectly. Conditions change, things arrive that were not anticipated, and you need to have some resiliency to be able to reset. And I love that you've shared your resiliency with us.
Yeah, and it really did work out for the best. I wouldn't have come across Dave had I not had my first developer. And I've thought I was going to marry someone before, and then we broke up, thank God. And now it's like you just find the better thing that's meant, it was meant to be. And so having faith that like there's something better out there and it's okay to cut the cord.
Yeah, I love it. What should we think about over this commercial break?
Ooh, I think maybe we've been talking about some stressful things. So for me, it's like, okay, let your belly go. Let's let our bellies go. Our bellies, if we're tensing our belly, we're te usually tensing our pelvic floor. So let it go, let your jaw go, and just take a nice deep breath in and widen your belly. So expand it like
Yeah.
it's a balloon. So
Mm,
yeah, so we're not breathing in up here, we're widening and then let it go. And
yeah.
that is helping you to relax your belly, relax your pelvic floor. And that's really good to do. We shouldn't be gripping when we're just sitting and doing something like this.
I
Hmm.
love that. So take your nice deep belly breaths, let everything go, shake it loose, and hang with us. We will be right back from the break.
Oh, checked it loud, but we're here. Tech is ours and we show no fear. No fear. From no fear. No fear.
Thanks for hanging in with us through the break. This is Zofia Morales, and I am back with the amazing and wonderful Amelia Godfrey. Before the break, you were telling us about your development journey or your journey discovering what it is to work with developers. And one of the topics that you mentioned was your second developer was very focused on minimum viable product, the core functionality that's required. And I think it's easy if you haven't been down this road to go, well, I need all of it. So, since you've kind of learned how to step into that mindset, share with us what we need to know to be able to follow in your footsteps.
Yeah, okay. So in my instance, for example, I had like 6 features, for example, in my first version of Pelvy. And my developer said, what are 2 features that you can launch with tomorrow and get paying users for? Doesn't have to be your full price, like, oh, I want people to pay $40 a month. What will people pay something for? And can we literally launch and get paying users for? And so I said, oh gosh, okay, well, I gotta have the pelvic floor feature where we can do the belly breathing, like I just talked you guys through, strengthening coordination with breath. And then I gotta have the ability to put my advice in there. And so we launched that, and I launched a pilot deal with pricing, and I had people paying for it. He said, before we develop any further features, let's get at least 10 paid clinics. And I got 80. So
Yay!
I know
Talk
I was
about
like,
an overshoot. I love it.
yeah. And I was like, oh gosh, I should have, and they had a good pilot deal, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I was like, oh, have I got all my clinics that are interested? And now I'm underpricing my product. But you know what? It doesn't bloody matter. I had the traction. We've added more and more patients every week, and patients and clinicians are loving it, even though it's a product that I look at sometimes and I think, oh, there's so many improvements needing making. Like the design isn't perfect, but like people don't care if it's something they need.
No,
Like, so
done beats perfect every day.
stop being a perfectionist. Like,
Yeah.
you know, and Dave would say to me, you should look up what Airbnb's original version was. Like, we are used to engaging with apps that are so many versions down the line, and it ain't a reality, love.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Exactly. Go use the Wayback Machine.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I love that.
That was
Love
my
that.
approach, really. And if people won't pay even a single thing for your two or three features, why is that?
Yeah, and it's a good question to
People
ask,
really
not
need
just
it.
yourself, but also the people who are like, yeah, I don't know.
And so then maybe you need to pivot and be like, well, and maybe they might not pay, but will they use it? Is
Yeah,
this something they will
exactly.
use every day? Or is it a, oh, I'm only going to use this for the odd patient? Because you can set up things in a way that the patient pays and the clinician doesn't pay.
Yeah,
Think about it, you know?
exactly. And the other thing is, if you don't talk to the people, especially the detractors, because they're going to give you the most honest advice.
Yeah,
The people that go, oh, it's wonderful, I love it, probably aren't being 100% forthcoming with you because they're concerned about maintaining the relationship, your feelings. They've been told
yeah.
by their mother, if you can't say something good, don't say anything. So your detractors are in some ways your best, most reliable sources of information.
Yeah, and I mean, I learned that I had quite a few, just not quite a few, like it wasn't the majority, but I had clinicians that were super keen on the idea. They were onboarded, and then they didn't add a single patient in their month free
Nothing.
trial.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh crap, like people aren't using this. Why aren't they using it? And so if it's the slightest bit inconvenient and you can improve the way that like just shave even like a minute off the time, that's a big thing. So basically, as soon as we had made the ability to have templates where you could save like your most popular prescribed,
Oh, yeah, that's so
our
helpful.
yeah, our
Yeah.
user use went up so much more. And all of a sudden I was like, great, there are clinicians that are using this with multiple patients every day. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think people overestimate the size that that barrier needs to be because, like, I help people with changing their habits, this kind of thing. And you know what will keep you from doing the new thing that you want to be doing?
What
Eight
you're used to. Yeah.
seconds. Eight
Mhm.
seconds. If there's an 8-second barrier, if you have to decide what workout clothes you're putting on, you will not go work out. It's as
Yeah.
simple as that. And so if you've got your clothes by the door, you don't have to think about it, you just have to step into it. You've greatly improved the odds that you'll go do the new thing.
Yeah.
And you can use it against the old thing too, right?
And yeah, let's like use that exercise analogy, okay?
Yeah.
So some people, and I'm one of these people where I'm like, oh, if I'm like doing a free trial somewhere, if there's no like money commitment, or for example, like free trials, but you have to pay if you cancel that class last minute, like you will go to that class. And
Yeah.
so originally, I was just doing the free trial and then I'd check in with them and then I'd set up their payment stuff. But then as soon as I started saying, okay, process this thing, it will bill you in a month, like people could cancel that. All of a sudden, people actually,
Changes the mindset.
I had so many less people not onboarding a single patient. And then I thought about, okay, how can I, because every single clinician that's used this with more than 5 or 10 patients has converted in that
Yeah.
after that month, every single one. So I was like, okay, what could I do that even incentivizes them more? So I was like, all right, you're paying for your first month. I will refund you your first month. If,
Oh,
yeah, if you add more than 10 patients that month. And yeah, now it's even been more like so things like that, I think consider like if you're underpricing a product, overpricing a product, free trials aren't always the best thing.
Well, and I love the permutations that you put on your free trials, right? Because technically it's still free. If you put in 10 patients, your first month is still free.
Yeah. And
But if you don't keep your side of the bargain, there is a natural penalty.
yeah. And it's like, okay, it's still not covering my time that first month if you don't subscribe, but it's covering something. And so, yeah, because when you're a founder bootstrapping and you're doing all these free trials and setting up accounts and blah, 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 it distracts you from working on the product, which working
Yeah,
on the product's important too.
exactly. But you can't underestimate client acquisition and retention and engagement, which is the thing that was missing in your piece was engagement. Because if people don't use it, they're not going to recommend it. It's not going to grow. And
Don't be afraid. Yeah, don't be afraid
yeah,
to change it. Change it. You make the rules, girl. You
yeah,
change it. And so,
exactly.
yeah,
And that's
I'm
the thing to
considering
keep in
changing
mind.
something. Yeah,
That's the thing to keep in mind, even about the initial pricing, right? You're like, I'm underpricing it, which is a typical thing that happens in SaaS. You need to get a certain quantity of usership going, and then gradually the price goes up. You're not married to that forever. And even in the case where you like grandfather somebody, you're grandfathered into this
my
version.
grandfather.
You're
Mm,
grandfathered into this version. The
yes.
one that comes out with the special tracking for bladder dysfunction versus pain, that one, it's got a new price tag attached to it. You're welcome to stay on the old one, but if you want the new one, guess what?
Yeah.
It's not an uncommon approach and it works.
Yeah. And I went B2C, which means I charged the clinicians a little
Yep.
bit, because they didn't want to pay a lot of it. And then eventually, so the patients use it for 6 months for free. And then I had a really low price that the patients can then pay annually.
Yeah,
And both sides were happy. And so
exactly.
you don't have to just charge the clinicians, you don't have to just charge the end users. And my favorite saying is, I won't say the F word on here, but like F around and find out. And
Yeah.
you can email 20 of your customers with one offer, email 20 customers with another offer. Which one's the most enticing? Go with that. Like,
Yeah. And a
yeah,
lot of times that's not even obvious because there is a psychology to pricing that's kind of, what I want to say, reverse or stood on its head. A lot of times, if it's too cheap, they figure there's no value there.
yeah.
So it's not always the lowest price point that wins. So, yes, I definitely would encourage the
Mm,
pricing experimentation. So we're down to like our last few minutes here. I would
okay.
love for you to share. I know you have three different ways that people can engage with you after this conversation.
Yeah,
So go ahead and share what those are. We'll make sure that all the URLs go into the show notes.
sure.
So nobody has to scramble for their pencil. They can look it up.
Well, firstly, if you're interested in investing in Pelvy, I am doing a pre-seed round, and you can find me on LinkedIn as Amelia Godfrey or Pelvy on LinkedIn. And I'm on social media. So most of the things are like at pelvy.app. And Pelvy is with a Y, by the way, Pelvy. And yeah, you can message on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and if you want the Pelvic Health 101 course, like I can send you a link to that. Easy peasy. But otherwise, the app is on the App Store as Pelvy Patient. And if you want to engage with it yourself and you don't have a clinician, you just have to select that option because it'll say, does your clinician subscribe to Pelvy for you? You would say no, so that you can be set up with that whole version that's kind of self-guided. Otherwise, you'll enter the app and it will have nothing in there because your clinician needs to add the stuff, right?
Right, right.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
if you're a clinician that would like to explore bringing this into your practice,
Well, currently it's April in 2026. And so currently you can inquire on the website at pelvy.app and give me your details, and then I can send you what's required to make an account and pay for your first month that I'll refund you if you actually use the app.
sure.
And So that's probably the easiest way, but eventually we'll be able to have people just signing up on the website and paying for their trial, and there's no back and forth, which will be such a good day. But at
Won't
the
that be
moment,
lovely? But yes,
yeah, yeah.
we're bootstrapping. So here we are.
Exactly. Yeah. So as a clinician, actually, even if you're a GP or a specialist or a dietitian, you want to recommend Pelvy, patients can subscribe to the app themselves. And let's say you're a physio, because there are some physios that can't subscribe as a clinician for some reason, or they work in public health, or they just don't want to. Fine.
Yes.
You can actually edit the exercises from in the app as well. So you can, because patients need to and people need to be able to progress their exercises, you just edit it and you put in the exact program that you've prescribed. So you can subscribe as a clinician, use it from your computer, which is, in my mind, a lot easier.
Yes.
Your patients get it for free for a period, or you can get your patient to just subscribe and you can edit it from their phone.
I love that. Thank you
Mm.
so much for taking time out of your very busy life to come and talk to us today. I really appreciate that.
It was so fun. Thank you.
And thank you for tuning in with us, dear listener. We do this show for you. And it's important for me that you walk away with this from this with value. There, the tongue is not quite working. So I would love to hear from you. Drop a comment if you're over on YouTube below the video, or shoot me an email to Zofia, Zofia, at steminstilettos.com. Let me know your thoughts. What did you think of the episode? Are there places you want to see me go, people you want to see me talk to? I value all the feedback that I get, and I read every bit of it. And until next week, go out, be bold, be beautiful, and be authentically you.